Hello, my Banda crew, and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be my Crash Bandicoot Iceberg video. I've been planning this for many months. I've been working on it on and off for all those months, and it's finally ready for you guys. If you're new to the channel, I release Crash Bandicoot content every weekend. We discuss lore, news, theories, we do tier lists, we do game reviews, we do toy reviews. Pretty much anything and everything Crash Bandicoot related we cover here on this channel. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, maybe consider subscribing. With that all said, let's jump back into the topic and let's do this iceberg. So this iceberg is 5 layers and over 100 entries. I'm not going to spend too much time on the top layer, which is the top of the iceberg, because most of this is well-known facts. So I'll just do a quick speed round with all of these. Entry 1 is Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog is the original development team behind the Crash Bandicoot franchise. They did the first 3 games and CTR, then they moved on to do Jak and Daxter, Uncharted, Last of Us. They've never come back to the Crash series. They don't own it, and that's that. Crash Bandicoot. Our little orange boy, the hero of our story, the marsupial hero. Crash Bandicoot, he is a bandicoot, which is an actual animal. He is orange, he spins, and he wins. Coco Bandicoot. Crash's little sister. She was introduced in Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back. Since then, she's appeared in almost every single Crash Bandicoot game. She's the brains behind the operation, and her smarts were given to her by Dr. Engine. She was trained in mechanics by Dr. Engine. Dr. Neo Cortex. The mad scientist who created Crash Bandicoot. He is the ultimate villain in the series. He is the final boss in nearly every single installment of the game, and he has appeared in every single game in the franchise. If he's not in story mode, he is in multiplayer mode. He is physically in every single game. Wumpa Fruits. This orange treat is in every single installment in the franchise. It varies on usage depending on the game. If you get 100 of them in some games, you get an extra life. They're used as fuel or speed boosts in Crash Team Racing. You can also upgrade your weaponry. There are Wumpa coins in Crash Tag Team Racing. This is the main fruit staple of the entire franchise. It is orange on the outside and it is purple on the inside. Crates. Crates are in every single installment in the Crash Bandicoot series. They were originally added into the franchise because before they were there, the levels seemed barren and empty, so they added a whole bunch of crates into it. Eventually, they became the staple. You collect all the crates in a level and you get a gem. There are a multitude of different kinds of crates. You have the question mark crates, the bouncy crates, you have TNTs, nitros. The crates are everywhere. And if you play a Crash Bandicoot game, you will always see a crate. Gems and crystals. The gems were introduced in Crash Bandicoot 1, as I just said in the previous entry. If you get all of the crates, you will be given a clear gem, and then there are colored gems hidden through various levels in the games. They were introduced in Crash 1, and they have been in almost every single game since. Crystals first appeared in Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back, and they have been a main collectible in every Crash Bandicoot game since. Depending on the game, it varies on what their function is. In the original Crash 2, you collected them as the MacGuffin for the game. In Crash Team Racing, you collect them to win tokens. There's just various uses for them. In Crash on the Run, they're used as currency. They're given all sorts of different names as the series goes on. The power gems, the purple gems, or the power crystals, the purple crystals. Just like boxes, if you play a Crash Bandicoot game, you are almost undoubtedly going to see a crystal. Spyro the Dragon demos. Insomniac, the developers of Spyro the Dragon were good friends with Naughty Dog, who did Crash Bandicoot. So for Crash Bandicoot Warped, Crash Team Racing, and Crash Bash, there were demos for Spyro, Spyro 2, and Spyro 3. This is almost the Konami code, and this is how you unlocked the playable demo of Spyro the Dragon on Crash Bandicoot Warped. Spinning. Crash's main attack in the franchise is spinning. He also gave that trait to his sister, Coco Bandicoot, who also spins. So both of them spin. Coco has been designated to like a reskin of Crash in the recent games, so she gets a spin attack too, just like Crash. But prior to that, in the Wrath of Cortex, she didn't have a spin, she had a kick attack. So she had a kick and she rode a scooter, but more recent Coco, she spins with Crash. In the N.Sane trilogy, she spins. In Crash 4, she spins. In Crash on the Run, she spins. So, like I said, she's like a reskin of Crash now. Time Trials and Relics. Introduced in Crash Bandicoot 3, time trials were added. You grab it and you race against the clock to see if you could beat your best times. There are 3 different ranks: Sapphire, Gold, and Platinum. That has recently changed with the newer games, but these were the original relics in Crash Bandicoot 3, Crash Team Racing, and Crash Bandicoot The Wrath of Cortex. Aku Aku. Aku Aku is a staple of the series. He's been with Crash since Crash Bandicoot 1. He's gone through many design changes through the series, but generally he is an extra hit point for Crash, and he is a mentor figure in the lore of the series. Original Trilogy and Crash Team Racing. As I said above in an earlier entry, Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, 3, and CTR were made by Naughty Dog. Because of this, you have purists who believe that only the Naughty Dog games count. But then Crash Bandicoot 4 came out, and now they've changed their tune to the original trilogy and Crash Bandicoot 4 count. Point being is Crash 1, 2, 3, and CTR were all made by Naughty Dog. Crash Bash. Crash Bash was the last installment on the original PlayStation. It was a party game, and it was the first game in the Crash Bandicoot franchise that was not developed by Naughty Dog. The Whoa meme. The Crash Bandicoot Whoa meme. The Pizza Hut cross promotion. In the late 90s, Crash Bandicoot had a cross promotion with Pizza Hut.
Turn the pizza around! It's stuffed crust, you eat it backwards! Hey. Carry on!
In case you forgot, you're supposed to eat stuffed crust backwards. With a ring of cheese baked right into the crust, it's the most fun you can have with the pizza. Right now, a large one topping is only $9.99. Pizza Hut, the best pizzas under one roof.
Would you like to work here?
I'm not housebroken.
Willy Wombat. One of the earlier names for Crash Bandicoot was Willy Wombat. N.Sane Trilogy. The first 3 games in 2017 were remade on PS4. It was called Crash Bandicoot The N.Sane Trilogy. It started the comeback of Crash Bandicoot, and it was the first game released for consoles after the release of Crash Bandicoot Mind Over Mutant. Cortex Commandos. The mutated animal villains of the Crash Bandicoot series. They were in the original trilogy, and then Bash introduced Rillaroo. So you have Tiny Tiger, Ripperoo, Koala Kong, Dingodile, Pinstripe, the Komodo Brothers, and Rillaroo. They were the original mutated creations that Cortex was making to help take over the planet. And the last entry on the top of the iceberg, the Wumpa Archipelago. This is taken from Twinsanity art, but it is the original 3 islands. You have the Wumpa Island, then you have the N.Sane Island, Insanity Island, then the Wumpa Island, then you have Cortex's Iceberg Lab there in the middle. That's not part of the archipelago. And then you have the 3rd island, which is Cortex's Island. So you have N.Sane, Wumpa, or Insanity, Wumpa, and Cortex's Island. That brings us to the second level, the surface of the water. Charles Zambilis or Zambius. Not 100% sure on how to say his name. I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comment section. This gentleman right here, he designed Crash Bandicoot, he designed Coco Bandicoot, Tawna Bandicoot. He did a lot of the other enemy characters. He also did bosses. He also worked on Spyro the Dragon. This is the grandfather of Crash Bandicoot. Japanese Crash. Crash Bandicoot was given a cutesy redesign for the Japanese market to help with their sales, and it worked. Fake Crash. Fake Crash originally appeared in the Crash Bandicoot manga, and many people believe that he was created off of a bootleg Crash Bandicoot toy, and Naughty Dog decided to throw him into the game, but he appeared in the Crash Bandicoot manga prior to the toy story existing. So this is Fake Crash. In continuity, he is a failed clone of Crash Bandicoot that cameoed in the background, became a playable character in CTR, and he was also in Boom Bang, Nitro Kart, and On the Run. Just to name a few. Crash to Insanity and post Naughty Dog games. Crash to Insanity is a fan favorite. I said earlier that many people didn't like any games after the original Naughty Dog games, but this is a fan favorite cult classic. It has a cappella singing by Spiral Mouth. It is an open world platforming adventure. Tons of content was cut from it, but the final product was Crash to Insanity, and many people liked it. The post Naughty Dog games, every single game since year 2000 has been a Crash Bandicoot game with no involvement of Naughty Dog. Crash has gone through many different designs, many different gameplays, but he's always been our little orange buddy. The hiatus. We did not get a Crash Bandicoot console game from Mind Over Mutant all the way to the N.Sane trilogy. A 9-year hiatus with no Crash Bandicoot console games. 100% endings. Crash Bandicoot has many collectibles in their games, and if you collect them all and beat the game, you are rewarded with a 100% ending. The rewards depend on the game. Game Boy Advance installments. Might not seem like a big deal now because Crash is on multiple different platforms, but back when the Game Boy Advance was in its heyday, Crash Bandicoot moved from PlayStation over to Game Boy Advance, so people who didn't have a PlayStation were now able to play Crash Bandicoot games on a handheld system. Spyro, cameos, and Crash games. Even after Naughty Dog and Insomniac stopped making Crash and Spyro and Crash still became friends, and they were still close. Spyro cameoed in Twinsanity. He also shows up in Crash Bandicoot 4. And he's also playable in the Nitro Kart GBA game and CTR Nitro Fueled. Hidden warp rooms. In certain Crash Bandicoot games, depending on whether or not they had secret levels, you could access hidden warp rooms. My favorite being from Crash Bandicoot Warped, the Neocore systems. You see the lab assistants being made in the background and shipped off in the Time Twister orbs to different time periods. Penta Penguin. In 1999, on Crash Team Racing, Penta Penguin was released as a playable character. You had to put in a special code in the menu screen to unlock him. It wasn't known widely by the audience where he came from. He originated from the Crash Bandicoot manga series, and this was his first game appearance. He didn't have completed dialogue. His Penguin Ye 1 and Penguin Ye 2 were notoriously hilarious. Tawna and Pinstripe. In the Japanese continuity for Crash Bandicoot, Tawna left Crash for Pinstripe. Crash Bandicoot is not mute. As far back as Crash Bandicoot 1 in the opening cutscene, when he jumps out the window, he says, "Uh-oh." But he also speaks in CTR, where he jumps, he says, "Whoa." And then in Crash Bandicoot on the Radical developed games, he actually says words.
Now let's go home and eat pancakes! Pancakes!
We have some different locations in the Crash Bandicoot series. Academy of Evil, Motor World, and the Uka Tree. The Academy of Evil is run by Madame Amberly, where she teaches evil children how to be more evil. Von Clutch's Motor World is in CTTR, and it is a amusement park with racing tracks on it, where Crash Bandicoot explores, races, and collects Wumpa coins and power gems. The Uka tree is the gigantic tree seen on Wumpa Island. For some reason, in the map screen for Crash Bandicoot 1, it does not appear, but on certain levels, you can see it in the background on the island. So the giant tree on the second island, which is Wumpa Island. Planetary Minimizer. The device Cortex used in Crash Bandicoot The Huge Adventure to shrink the planet Earth down to the size of a Wumpa. Every Spyro continuity. There are 3 Spyro continuities. There is Classic, Legendary, and Skylanders, and Crash Bandicoot has appeared in every single one. In Crash Bandicoot Purple, he crosses over with Spyro in an adventure. Crash on the Run, Spyro, and Dark Spyro come back. This is also the Classic Spyro series. Crash Bandicoot has a very minor cameo in the Legends series. You can see he's frozen under a body of water. And last, in the Skylander series, Crash Bandicoot guest stars in Thumpin' Wumpa Island, where he interacts with other Skylanders. Pork. Crash Bandicoot has many animal buddies, Polar Purra, Baby T, and some of the fandom thinks that the warthog from Crash Bandicoot 1 is actually named Pork and is a character. The rationale I've seen for this is because the P in pork is capitalized, meaning it is a proper noun, meaning it is a name. It says, take a wild ride on a tusked steed, but do be careful to avoid the many hazards and pitfalls that will add pork to the Bandicoot dinner the locals are craving. So the fandom thinks, like I said, some of the fandom thinks Pork is the name of the warthog, and he is a character. Titans. In the Radical developed games, new versions of mutants became a thing by Cortex. Cortex created various hybrid animals using Mojo to transform them into mutants, which they were called Titans. Scorporella, Snipe, Sludge, Yuctopus, just to name a few. Aliens everywhere. After CTR introduced us to the first alien character, Oxide, aliens appear almost all the time in the Crash Bandicoot series. You have Zem and Zam, Emperor Velo, Brunk, Nash, Geary, and the Norms. G Fuel Wumpa. A cross-promotion with G Fuel and Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. They made a Wumpa Fruit-flavored drink called G Fuel Wumpa Fruit. Which brings us now to Layer 3, Shallow Water, Crash Bandicoot Nitro Kart Mobile Series. After the release of Crash Bandicoot Mind Over Mutant, we got 3 handheld mobile phone Crash racing games. Crash Nitro Kart, Crash Bandicoot Nitro Kart 2, Crash Bandicoot Nitro Kart 3D. The titles were all sorts of weird. Crash Nitro Kart 2, Crash Bandicoot Nitro Kart 3D, and Crash Bandicoot Nitro Kart 2. Crash Bandicoot Nitro Kart 2 and Crash Nitro Kart 2 are 2 different games, despite the titles almost being exactly the same. Bring Back Bandicoot, an online campaign made by Jump Button to bring back Crash Bandicoot during the hiatus, and this image is by Charles Zimbelis. Planned animated cutscenes. Crash Bandicoot 1 originally had animated cutscenes planned, but they decided against it because they wanted to show the power of the 3D models capable of the PlayStation, so they opted out to not use the animated cutscenes. Crash Bandicoot Evolution. As said in a previous entry, Crash to Insanity had a lot of content cut out, and it was originally called Crash Bandicoot Evolution. Crash Landed / I Am Crash Bandicoot. In 2010, there was going to be a relaunch of the Crash Bandicoot series with the name I Am Crash Bandicoot or Crash Landed. They had cross-promotion with McDonald's, and it looks to be a very cartoony reboot of the series. Also planned for 2010 was a Crash Team Racing game. As far as we know, it was just called Crash Team Racing. It had a kart customization feature, and the only new character that we knew of was Landshark. You could see him in the background. These images are taken from Crash Mania. And here's a better picture of Landshark. He's got a beard made of algae. Crash Bandicoot 99X. This was a game not many people knew about. Came out in 1998. It was Crash Bandicoot for the 99X games. The fans have dubbed this game Crash Bandicoot 99X. Danny from the Crash Bandicoot Zone, the Italian fan page, brought this back to the public's eye, and we actually got Mr. Crumb from the game in Crash on the Run. So it's cool, the power of fandom. We got Mr. Crumb back because Danny brought the 99X game back into the public's eye. Sonic's Ass Game. This was a joke by the development team because you are playing a platformer game with the camera face behind the character, so they jokingly called it Sonic's Ass Game. The Crash Bandicoot Bible isn't canon. So the early Bible for the series had a lot of inconsistencies with what we got in the final game. Characters' names were different, their backgrounds were different, and for some reason fandom continues to use the Bible as canon to the lore, saying like Cortex killed his family, despite the fact that we know that his mother is alive thanks to her voice cameo into Insanity, and that Nina Cortex is alive, so that means Cortex's brother had to have been alive long enough to have a child, so Cortex didn't kill his entire family. There's a lot of inconsistencies in the Bible, like I said, the character names, and Cortex was apparently in love with Tawna and stuff like that. So the original Bible for Crash Bandicoot is not canon. Mojo. In the Radical games, Crash Bandicoot now collects Mojo, mythical energy floating around in orbs. It is used to power up and create the Titans. And also, the Mojo isn't only in the Radical games, it does come back in Crash on the Run. This time, the orbs being in like a battery-like structure. You can see the orb there in the middle. Crash Bandicoot Blast and Crash Bandicoot for the Pocket Station. If you linked up your Game Boy Advance Crash Bandicoot game with your Wrath of Cortex for the Nintendo GameCube, you will be given a Crash Bandicoot minigame called Crash Bandicoot Blast. It's just a target shooting game. When the villains pop up, you shoot them, and if you shoot your friends when they pop up, you lose points. Crash Bandicoot on the Pocket Station. The Pocket Station is a Japanese exclusive memory card with a screen and buttons on it, so you can play games depending on what save file you put on it. If you have the Crash Bandicoot Warped game saved onto this Pocket Station, you unlock Crash Bandicoot minigames. I have an entire video detailing all the details on this channel, and I'll link it in the description if you're interested to hear more about that. Crash Bandicoot Manga. I talked about Pentapenguin originating from the Crash Bandicoot manga in an earlier entry. Well, this is the manga series Crash Bandicoot. There was 3 different installments, dozens of chapters, and there are fan translations for the first 2 versions of the manga online, but the last one doesn't have full translations as of yet. I also do a read-through of the manga on my YouTube channel. I will also put that in the description. Crash Bandicoot in Skylanders Academy. So not only did Crash Bandicoot cross over with Spyro in the Skylanders game with Thumpa Wumpa Island, he also appeared in the Skylanders Academy cartoon series. And he has full speaking dialogue in this. He doesn't just say one word, he actually speaks. And Coco appears in this series as well. Tip videos. In the Japanese version of Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, and 3, when you encounter Aku Aku, occasionally little scenes will pop up with Aku Aku talking to you, and I don't know what he's saying because I don't speak Japanese, but here is an example of Aku Aku doing a tip to you in the Japanese game.
いやクラッシュ、わしはアクアクじゃ。一回だけならお主を守ってやろうかの。
Carbon Crash. Crash, played off the phrase carbon copy, is a exact duplicate of Crash. You can do all of the moves that Crash does in the Radical games, and he was created as a player too. This was when Coco was not a playable character. You had Carbon Crash. CTR Nitro Fueled prequel comic. Released online, we got a prequel comic to Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. And just recently, we got a new comic. We also got a comic to Cat Bat, the new character coming into Crash Team Rumble who cameoed in Crash Bandicoot 4. While that's not listed in the iceberg, I figured I'd just add it in since this is new information that was given to us a couple days ago. The Tawniverse. This is not the Tawniverse, this is Salty Wharf. It is where we originally saw Tawna, but from what we're told in-game, Tawna comes from a universe where the female Entropy is her main rival, and she has killed, or is implied to have killed, Crash and Coco of that universe. We never see her home universe, but the Tawniverse is where the new Crash Bandicoot 4 version of Tawna originates from. Maybe we'll see more of it in future installments. He pilots everything. Literally anything you throw at Crash, he can pilot. He is dim-witted, but for some reason, Crash Bandicoot can pilot airplanes, helicopter packs, jet packs, motorcycles. He has training in the submarines. He has a space motorcycle. He drives jeeps. Literally anything Crash comes up against, he's able to just drive or pilot automatically. He is amazing in that aspect of his character. Epilogues. In various Crash Bandicoot games, we are given epilogues at the end of the story upon completing the game 100%. Crash Bandicoot 1, Crash Team Racing, and Crash Bandicoot 4 are the best examples. And some of them are canon, while others aren't. You really have to pick and choose, because some things are impossible, like saying Ripperoo goes off and goes to college for 8 years, but then him being Dr. Roo, which takes place 1 year after Crash Bandicoot 1. So, like, there's inconsistencies. I also have videos on my channel called Canon or Cannot. I'll link those in the description too, where I discuss what I believe is canon, what I believe is not canon as far as the epilogues go. Unexplained Anthros and Bandicoots Everywhere. The Crash Bandicoot series has many anthropomorphic characters who do not have true origins. They're all implied to be created by Dr. Cortex or another character who has access to Evolvo Rays. But we have Hasty, Chicken Stew, Yaya Panda, Rillaroo, Pasadena Possum. There's many more. There's the Viscount. I should say the Viscount. I think I said Viscount multiple times in this video. His name is the Viscount. And he also has anthropomorphic female bandicoots helping him in his mini-games. So there's a lot of bandicoots everywhere and a lot of unexplained anthropomorphic characters that you really just have to assume Cortex created them or another scientist created them, because they're not naturally occurring. 10th Dimension. The 10th dimension is in Crash to Insanity. It is the parallel dimension to Crash Bandicoot's dimension. You have Evil Crash, the Cut Evil Coco, the Evil Twins, and Cut Good Cortex. This was one of the first games to introduce alternate universes and dimensions. Which brings us to the next layer, Deep Water. First entry, curse words used for game files. When the game was being developed, they would use obscene words like object MFer or object a-hole for certain things in the games. It was never meant to be seen by people, but because of data mining, we found those out. Crush Bandicoot. Crush Bandicoot, the other not very nice one. It is a canceled Crash Bandicoot game with a spin-off character named Crush. I have a video on my channel. I will link it in the description. Not much is known about this character other than this main screen we have here. And Canadian guy A did a color correction, and it turns out that Crush is a purple Bandicoot, not a green Bandicoot. Crash cameos in Uncharted 4. In Uncharted 4, there is a playable version of Crash Bandicoot 1.
When you turn something on, you expect it to... Okay, there we go. Crash Bandicoot.
Is there a problem?
No, just, how do you make it go?
Push the start button.
I knew that.
All right.
I got it.
Okay, so you want to run towards the camera.
So it's a playable Crash Bandicoot minigame, but it is not actually taken from the actual Crash Bandicoot game. Foofy. Foofy was a character that was going to be in Crash Bandicoot Evolution before its unfortunate removal. All we know is he's an alien-like creature, and he pretty much performs different tasks like gadgetry from... You could probably compare it to Ratchet and Clank. So depending on where you are in the game, he performs different functions and transforms into different shapes. So he could do like what looks like a grappling hook or possibly a whip attack. There's an electricity thing right there. Pretty much, he just looks like a really cute little dude that would have been a lot of fun in the game. Aussie Crash Speaks. I'm sorry for you guys if you've never seen this before. I'm not going to play the whole thing for you guys because it's over 4 minutes long. If you want to see the whole thing, it is available on YouTube.
Wow, that was intense! Woo! I just flew in from the new ruins level, and boy, are my arms tired! Thank you very much, baby. Thank you very much. That was funny stuff. Wow, funny stuff. Dog, did you see that? Hi, I'm Crash! Crash Bandicoot!
So, when Crash Bandicoot 2 was coming out, they made this video with Crash talking and explaining what was going to be occurring in the new Crash Bandicoot video game. Crashworth Cortex the First. So for this, I'm going to do an audio clip. It's in the flashback tapes from Crash Bandicoot 4. Upon finishing the final flashback tape for Crash, Cortex says this in the dialogue.
I got your little graduation present, subject. A name! Crashworth Cortex the First. Crash for short.
So, Crash Bandicoot's full name, in canon, is Crashworth Cortex the First. Pakistani Crash and Cortex. A McDonald's commercial for Crash Bandicoot from Pakistan. Hilarious off-model Crash and Cortex. Tiny Tiger and the Komodo Brothers debut. In the animated cutscene that was taken out of the game for Crash Bandicoot 1, you could actually see Tiny Tiger, Komodo Mo, and Komodo Joe in the intro. So they were originally supposed to be in the first game. That was Komodo and Kimono is what the Komodo Brothers' names were originally. Jason Rubin hates Crash Bandicoot and Oxide. This is something that I've heard over the years, and I finally tried to look up information on it, and this is what I came up with. If you go to the TV Tropes website, it says, in meta terms, an interview reveals that Naughty Dog specifically created Oxide so that the series would jump the shark, or in other words, we tried to kill Crash, because they believed no one would take an alien seriously. This is Jason Rubin said this. This will be the end. We've jumped the shark. The alien came to CTR. Everybody loved it. So despite trying to destroy the series, everyone loved CTR. Disney Crash Bandicoot comic. In the late 90s, there was the Disney magazine, and there was a Crash Bandicoot comic, CTR, that was published in one of the issues of the Disney magazine. Cancelled Amazon Prime cartoon show. The Crash Bandicoot N.Sane cartoon show was supposed to be airing on Amazon, but before the show officially came out, it was canceled. I actually have a clip of the pilot on my channel. I will link it in the description below. It looked to be a zany Animaniacs, Looney Tunes style Crash Bandicoot show, but drama behind the scenes caused this to get canceled. Hyperspace Temple. The Hyperspace Temple has had a couple appearances. It was in Crash Bash, Crash the Wrath of Cortex, and Crash Bandicoot 2 Entranced. The Uka Aku brothers have the ability to teleport to this hyperspace dimension area, and in Crash Bandicoot the Wrath of Cortex, you could actually see planets circling this temple, so it's unknown if this hyperspace is literally a dimension or if it's actually out deep in space. So the planets that are seen could just be planets within this hyperspace, or hyperspace could be in our actual outer space. It's never really clarified, and it's up to interpretation as to where the hyperspace actually is. Crash and Coco's clothing and allergic to Wumpa. Again, this is going to be audio taken from the flashback tapes. It tells the origin of Crash's jeans, Coco's overalls, and who is allergic to Wumpa fruit. Crash gets his pants from Cortex.
Here's my old shorts fit the subject splendidly. It appears my old shorts fit the subject splendidly. I miss those shorts. So breezy. Oodles of room in the... never mind.
And Coco got her overalls from Cortex, but they belonged to Embryo.
It took a while to find Coco an appropriate outfit, but I must say I outdid myself.
Are those my overalls? Mother made me those!
And then another voice clip from the flashback tapes shows that Cortex is allergic to Wumpa fruit.
Subject continues to respond favorably to Wumpa after rejecting all other foods. Embryo, bring me a Wumpa fruit. The Bandicoot's obsession with them has given me a hankering.
But Master, your allergy...
Oh, it's fine. You can clean it.
Crash Bandicoot at Creator Clash. Crash Bandicoot showed up at Creator Clash 2 to advertise Crash Team Rumble, and he beat his opponent in the ring. Energon. Not much is known about this except for it's a power source that is in the 10th dimension. You could see it here in these spheres, the Energon spheres. And interestingly enough, Jump Button, one of the well-known Crash Bandicoot fanatics, made a trilogy of fan games called Crash Bandicoot Energon. So if you like Flash games, check those out. There's 3 of them. Jump Button made them, so just Google that. I'm sure you'll be able to find it. The Noid. Crash on the Run had a cross-promotion with Domino's Pizza, and you could actually fight the Noid. He was only available for a month, and after that month he was gone, and you could never fight him again. But you did unlock pizza-themed skins that Crash and Coco could wear throughout your Crash on the Run adventures. Crash and Parappa. In Japanese commercials, Crash Bandicoot and Parappa the Rappa crossed over multiple times. It was always the mascots in their suits, and there was cutesy stuff. The Crash Dance. The marketing developer of Sony Computer Entertainment Japan, Megumi, created the Crash Bandicoot dance as an advertisement for Crash Bandicoot 1, and it eventually became a staple of the franchise and is seen up until recent day. Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled had Crash doing the Crash dance. Jackin'. The original name for Crash of the Titans was Crash Jackin'. And the last entry on the deep water is Mecha Bandicoot could be alive. Well, as live as a robot could be, with artificial intelligence. Taken from a cut scene from Crash to Insanity.
Our magic is no match for the twins' power. What we need is a little brute force. Mecha Bandicoot is equipped with an electronic brain, programmed with Crash's own cerebral patterns.
Are you sure that was wise?
Let's bring him home. Engage autopilot!
So, it makes sense because Mecha Bandicoot appears in the 10th dimension. Like, there's no explanation how he gets there. So this cutscene probably should have stayed in the game because it shows how Mecha Bandicoot got to the 10th dimension and helped you fight the evil twins in the final boss. So, Mecha Bandicoot has a cloned brain of Crash Bandicoot, so technically he is alive. And now we've reached the bottom of the iceberg. Simpsons in Crash Bash. In the beta for Crash Bash, when you get to the Komodo brothers, their icons for their health are Homer Simpson and Bart Simpson. It's unknown why they did this, but there it is. Animaniacs call out, or shout out, I guess you could say. Crash and Wacko Warner are voiced by the same voice actor, and in the new relaunch of the Animaniacs, they nod to Crash Bandicoot. I haven't seen the episode myself, but I have seen this clip, and now I will share it with you.
All I got is a lame spin like that orange marsupial guy. I guess I do kind of sound like him.
All he has a spin like that orange marsupial guy. I kind of sound like him. Super Crash. The final unlockable in Crash Bandicoot Mind Over Mutant for the Nintendo DS is a super form for Crash Bandicoot. All his fur turns gold, his hair turns a greenish color, and he has infinite spin attack, no knockbacks from attacks. So there is Super Saiyan Goku, Super Sonic, and now Super Crash. Power Gems, not to be confused with regular gems. Power Gems originally appeared in Crash Tag Team Racing, but they were given more lore in Crash Bandicoot on the Run, where they were described to have the ability to create completely new universes. So the opening of Crash on the Run, it says, Crash, wait. That's a power gem, a rare quantum energy source, not a Wumpa fruit. And Crash goes to eat it, and Cortex swoops up and grabs it and says this. Haha, a few more power gems and I could construct a dimension without bandicoots. So he is going to make a dimension. I think they use dimension and universe interchangeably here because the whole point of this game is the multiverse. So the power gems can create a new universe. The Super Big Power Crystal. The main collectible in Crash Boom Bang. It's what you're searching for the entire adventure. This is the only shot we ever see of it. There's no full image of it. It looks to be a giant crystal with other crystals shooting out the tops of it, the sides on the top. And whoever gets to the crystal gets one wish granted, and then the crystal disappears. Crash wishes for Wumpa fruit, of course, and then the crystal disappears and is never seen or heard of again. The Titanic. It is implied that the Titanic sinking occurred in the Crash Bandicoot series as well as our own. So you have the Viscount saying, about 100 years ago there was an adventurer in search of the stone, but on the way his ship collided with a giant iceberg and sunk. My beloved grandfather was sent to his watery grave along with the final key. Look for the final key in that sunken ship. So it was 100 years ago as of the release of this game, which was 2006. So it was 6 years off from the actual Titanic, and he says about 100 years ago, plus the ship hit an iceberg and sank. So it's pretty much assumed that they're talking about the Titanic, and that the Crash characters actually go down into the depths of the ocean and explore the sunken Titanic. Baby T multiplayer. In the minigame on Crash Bash Dragon Drop, the characters all ride dragons. However, in the beta version of the game, everyone got to ride their very own Baby T. Butch Hartman's Crash Bandicoot. On Butch Hartman's TikTok, he showed a video of how he was hired to help design Crash Bandicoot, and they paid him X amount of dollars for 1 day's worth of work, and he just designed various versions of Crash Bandicoot based off what they wanted. Obviously, they didn't use his designs, and they went with Charles Zambellis, but this is Butch Hartman saying how I helped create Crash Bandicoot. So just go to his TikTok if you want more. Rocket Triceratops. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage of this, and I don't have the ability to record off of my old PlayStation. But in Crash Bandicoot Warped, on certain levels with the Triceratops chase scenes, if you have a Aku Aku mask and run into the lava, you have temporary invincibility, and you could run behind the Triceratops. So now the Triceratops is in front of you, running forward. However, the game tries to catch this, and it corrects the mistake, and the Triceratops rockets backwards and smashes into you. It's pretty funny, and if you have the PlayStation 1 set up with Crash Bandicoot Warped, I recommend trying it out. It is hilarious. Cut Crash Bash characters. Before we got Rillaroo, they actually had a character named Kanga Sue who they were going to have be the Dingodile equivalent. But we also had a couple other characters that were just released to us via sketches. This was the original design for Rillaroo, Kang Gorilla. This was a bug character named Redback Jack. My favorite of the bunch, Splash Platypus. Hypnopotamus. And lastly, the Combat Wombat. Crunch's origins. Crunch Bandicoot originally appeared in Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex. However, in Crash Bandicoot 4, it's implied that Crunch was being worked on as far back as Crash Bandicoot 1. In one of the flashback tapes, you could see a monitor with who appears to be Crunch Bandicoot. And I'm sorry I don't know the artist of this image. If you tell me it, I will put it in the... I will pin a comment. This is Crunch Bandicoot. This is the clearer redrawn image of that Crunch from the monitor. Crash ain't that tall. In the notorious Crash Team Racing advertisement, you actually see Crash's license, and it shows his height as 5 feet 1 inch. So Crash is a short king. Oxide goes to Beanox. In the original CTR, you can see Oxide traveling to Australia to encounter our heroes, but then in the remake for Nitro Fuel, he's no longer going to Australia, he goes to Beanox headquarters, which is located in Canada. Crash and Coco masks. In Crash Mind Over Mutant, Crash and Coco have the ability to transform into masks. There's the Crash mask, and there's the Coco mask. Rings of Horror. In the final world of Crash Boom Bang, the tower, you actually have a run-in with the girl from the ring, or someone who looks an awful lot like her. The afterlife exists in Crash Bandicoot. There is a heaven, and there is a heck. Bonus Bob. an advertisement for the original Crash Bandicoot game has Aku Aku listed as Bonus Bob. Bit of an unusual first name, but a useful chappie to come across. And the last entry on my iceberg, Smash Brandy's Cooch. In The Last of Us 2, the characters come across porno tapes, and one of the titles of the porno tapes is a nod to Crash Bandicoot.
Hey, he's got that videotape thing. Huh. Dong of the Wolf. Smash Brandy's Cooch. Are these? It's porn.
Smash Brandy's Cooch. What a way to end this iceberg. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed. This is a very long video. It took a long time to make, and I really appreciate your patience waiting for it. And if you didn't know it was coming and you just stumbled across it now, I hope you enjoyed it. I lost some footage and I had to try and recreate it, so some of it is different quality. Like, there's a good 5-minute stretch where stuff is like stretched out, and I did my best to try and salvage some of it, but I hope you enjoyed, and leave some feedback if some of this stuff is incorrect. This is all stuff that I researched, so let me know what you think of it. And that's pretty much it. I really had fun making this one, and I hope you guys liked it. So we'll see you in the next video. You take care.